Nestled in the rural expanse of Louisville, Kentucky, a dark legend has persisted for over a century, whispered among the locals and feared by those brave enough to venture near the old trestle bridge. This is the tale of the Pope Lick monster, often referred to as the Goat Man. The origins of this sinister figure are shrouded in mystery, but folklore and historical records suggest a blend of tragedy, superstition, and the supernatural. In the mid-19th century, the area surrounding Pope Lick Creek was a burgeoning settlement. Railroads were being laid to connect the region to larger trade routes, promising prosperity, but bringing with them a wave of disruption and fear. Among the many workers employed to build the tracks was a man named Samuel Pendleton, a farmer turned labourer who, like many others, sought fortune in the burgeoning industry. Samuel, however, had a dark secret. It is said that Samuel was not entirely human. His mother, a reputed witch from the Appalachian Mountains, was rumoured to have consorted with a demonic entity, resulting in Samuel's grotesque form. Born with the legs of a goat, twisted horns and a feral visage, he was shunned by society and lived in isolation. His life was one of hardship and secrecy, until the railroad brought him into contact with the settlers of Pope Lick Creek. Despite his terrifying appearance, Samuel found work with the railroads, hiding his deformities beneath heavy clothing and working the night shifts. The whispers of a goat-legged man spread through the camp, but in an era of superstition and ignorance, these were dismissed as the ramblings of frightened workers. However, the fear among the labourers grew as strange occurrences began to plague the construction site. Tools went missing, livestock were found mutilated, and the haunting cries of an unearthly beast echoed through the night. The breaking point came one stormy night when a young girl from the nearby settlement vanished. Her lifeless body was discovered near the tracks, her throat savagely torn and hoof prints surrounding the scene. Panic gripped the community, and the blame quickly fell on Samuel Pendleton. A mob of enraged townsfolk hunted him down, dragging him to the very trestle bridge where he had toiled. In a fit of hysteria and vengeance, they hanged him from the bridge, leaving his body to swing as a grim warning to others. Yet death did not bring an end to the terror. Samuel's vengeful spirit, fueled by the injustice of his brutal execution, is said to have merged with the dark forces of his lineage, transforming him into the fearsome Goat Man. He became an eternal guardian of the trestle, haunting the site of his demise and seeking retribution on those who dare to trespass. As years passed, the legend of the Pope Lick monster grew. Parents would warn their children to stay away from the trestle, and locals avoided the area after dark. Sightings of the Goat Man became more frequent, each account more terrifying than the last. In 1907, a group of teenagers decided to test their courage by venturing onto the trestle at midnight. Among them was a young man named Jacob Hargrove, who dismissed the tales of the Goat Man as mere superstition. Armed with bravado and a bottle of whiskey, Jacob and his friends made their way to the bridge. What happened next is still spoken of in hushed tones among the older residents of Louisville. As the group reached the centre of the trestle, they heard the distant whistle of a train. Panic set in, and they began to scramble back towards the safety of the land. Jacob, intoxicated and stumbling, lagged behind. Suddenly, the air was filled with an unearthly scream, a sound that seemed to freeze their blood. Turning back, Jacob's friends saw a monstrous figure looming over him, a creature with the body of a man and the twisted, horned head of a goat. In a heartbeat, Jacob was gone, dragged into the darkness below. His body was never found, and the survivors swore never to speak of what they had witnessed. The Goat Man's legend continued to claim lives. In 1933, A vagrant seeking shelter under the trestle was found dead, his body mutilated beyond recognition. The sheriff's report cited wild animals, but the locals knew better. Stories of the goat man resurfaced, and fear once again gripped the community. During World War II, a soldier named Peter Matthews returned home on leave, eager to reconnect with his childhood friends. One night, Peter boasted that he would confront the goat man. Despite the protests of his companions, he ventured out alone to the trestle. When dawn broke, Peter was nowhere to be found. Search parties scoured the area, but only his torn uniform and a trail of blood were discovered. His disappearance was attributed to the goat man, and the legend grew stronger. Recent sightings, real scientific proof of the goat man's existence. In the latter half of the 20th century, the Pope-Lick monster seemed to fade into obscurity, relegated to the realm of local folklore. However, the advent of urban exploration and the rise of paranormal interest in the late 20th and early 21st centuries reignited curiosity about the goat man. New sightings and encounters began to emerge, each more chilling than the last. Real recorded deaths of people associated with attempting to find the goat man have been well documented. In 1987, a 17-year-old young man, Jack J.C. Charles Baum II, was hit and killed by a train, and another young man was injured while trying to cross the trestle while in search of the beast. In 1994, while attempting to catch footage of the beast, a man was killed by a train after his ATV overturned on the trestle, trapping him on the track. His body was so badly mangled by the collision with the train, it took police over a month to recover all of his remains and identify his body. In 2000, a 19-year-old fell to his death after jumping off the side of the lofted track after being scraped by a passing train. His companion, who witnessed the event, noted that there were no whistles, engine sounds or noise, that the train was near them, as if it had been summoned out of nowhere, on a mission to make an example of all who would dare challenge the goat man. A 26-year-old tourist from Ohio named Roquel Barr, on April 23, 2016, died after being hit by a train while searching for the monster. Her boyfriend survived by hanging on the side of the trestle. On May 26, 2019, Savannah Bright, 15, was pronounced dead at the scene after she and another teenage girl were on the train tracks near the Pope-Lick trestle. Bright's friend, whose name was intentionally withheld by the authorities due to her age, was hospitalized at University of Louisville Hospital after the incident. Other accounts. In 1994, a young couple, Emily and Mark, decided to explore the trestle for a thrill. As they walked along the tracks, the air grew unnaturally cold, and a dense fog enveloped the area. Suddenly they heard the rhythmic clattering of hooves on the tracks behind them. Turning around, they saw the goat man, his eyes glowing with a malevolent fire. Paralyzed with fear, they watched as the creature advanced. Mark managed to pull Emily to safety, just as a train roared past, narrowly escaping the goat man's grasp. Traumatized and shaken, they recounted their encounter to the authorities, but their story was met with skepticism. In 2001, a documentary filmmaker named Lucas Reed took an interest in the Pope-Lick monster. Determined to uncover the truth, he interviewed locals and gathered historical accounts. Lucas and his crew set up cameras along the trestle and conducted nightly vigils. On the third night, their persistence paid off. As midnight approached, the cameras captured a chilling scene. A shadowy figure with glowing eyes emerging from the darkness, its goat-like features clearly visible. The footage abruptly ended as the camera was knocked over and Lucas's panicked screams were heard. He and his crew were found the next day alive but deeply traumatized. The footage they captured remains some of the most compelling evidence of the Goat Man's existence. In 2015, a group of thrill-seeking teenagers dared each other to walk the trestle at night. Among them was a girl named Sarah, who was fascinated by the legend of the Goat Man. As they reached the midpoint of the bridge, the air grew thick with an oppressive silence. Suddenly, Sarah felt a hand on her shoulder. Turning, she came face to face with the Goat Man. His eyes burned with an otherworldly intensity, and his breath was hot and foul. Screaming, she and her friends ran back to safety. But Sarah was never the same. Plagued by nightmares and an overwhelming sense of dread, she became withdrawn and haunted, convinced that the Goat Man would one day come for her. The legend lives on. The Pope Lick monster remains a fixture of local lore, a terrifying spectre that haunts the memories of those who dare to speak of it. Despite the countless warnings and tragic tales, the trestle continues to draw the curious and the foolhardy, each seeking a glimpse of the elusive Goat Man. The legend endures, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks just beyond the edge of the known world. Whether a product of superstition, a cautionary tale, or a manifestation of something far more sinister, the Goat Man of Pope Lick Creek remains one of America's most enduring and frightening legends. As long as the trestle stands, casting its shadow over the creek below, the Pope Lick monster will continue to haunt the nightmares of those who dare to believe in the horrors that lie hidden in the night.